A quiet city street at night, rain glistening on the asphalt. The camera slowly pans over police tape, flashing lights in the distance, and a lone figure walking with measured steps. A deep, tense voiceover whispers, "Some truths are heavier than guilt. Some secrets last a lifetime." And tonight, everything changes. The city feels alive, but in a dark, tense way. Shadows stretch across empty alleys and distant sirens echo through the night. The camera follows a faceless silhouette, hands tucked into a coat, shoulders tense, walking toward an unknown destination. Pieces of Dexter's past flicker on screen, blurred newspaper clippings, out-of-focus blood-stained slides, and fragments of police files. Each object hints at a life built on secrets, a life that has touched many, including Batista. A low-pulsing soundtrack hums in the background, amplifying the tension. Voiceover begins calm, yet heavy with emotion. "Batista and I. We've always walked a fine line between trust and betrayal. He never knew the half of it, and maybe that was for the best. But tonight, the past won't stay buried." The scene shifts to another faceless figure, Batista. His hands rest on a wooden desk, fingers drumming nervously. A half-empty cup of coffee sits beside him, steam rising like unanswered questions. The camera lingers on the tension in his posture, shoulders tight, head bowed. His voice, rough but restrained, cuts through the silence. "I need answers. I've waited too long for them." Quick, cinematic cuts show memories colliding. Dexter walking away from a crime scene. Batista discovering a clue that never made sense at the time, a handshake frozen in hesitation. The visuals are faceless, but charged with emotion. Every object, every shadow, every sound tells the story of a friendship strained by unspoken truths. Voiceover continues, almost like a confession. "We were partners once, friends, but secrets. They change people. They linger. They hurt. And now, after all these years, the silence is too loud to ignore." Rain begins to fall harder, splattering on the concrete and creating ripples and puddles. The camera moves upward, showing the city's skyline blurred under the heavy drizzle. Text overlay flashes briefly. Dexter and Batista, a conversation long overdue. The first section ends with both silhouettes. Dexter and Batista walking toward the same dimly lit location. The distance between them seems endless, even though it's just a few steps. The tension is palpable. Every frame, every sound, every shadow sets up the inevitable confrontation, promising a deep emotional reckoning. The camera shifts to a dimly lit office, rain streaking down the window. Batista sits alone, faceless in silhouette, his posture heavy, shoulders slumped under the weight of years of doubt. The sound of rain tapping against glass creates a slow, rhythmic tension, echoing the thoughts running through his mind. Papers are scattered across the desk, police reports, photographs, and crime scene files, all hinting at the mysteries he never fully understood. Voiceover begins. Calm but laced with frustration. "I trusted him once. I thought I knew him. But every clue, every inconsistency, every secret, it built a wall between us. A wall that only got taller with every unspoken word." Faceless visuals shift to subtle gestures. Batista's hand clenching a coffee cup, tapping a finger nervously on the desk, a jacket sleeve brushing against a stack of files. The camera captures tension in silence, the quiet moments where his thoughts weigh heavier than words. Cuts to blurred flashbacks, a crime scene where Dexter's movements were always precise, always controlled. The subtle moments where Batista sensed something was off but couldn't put a finger on it. Quick flashes of their past interactions, a handshake held a moment too long, a glance exchanged that carried unasked questions. Scenes bathed in shadows and muted lighting. Voiceover continues. Now tinged with hurt, I watched him handle cases. Handle life like nothing could touch him. But I saw the cracks, and I hated myself for not seeing the truth sooner. How do you confront someone who's always been 2 steps ahead? The camera pans to Batista's hands, now resting over a police badge, slightly shaking. He breathes deeply, the sound amplified in the otherwise silent room. His voice becomes quieter, almost a whisper, yet weighted with emotion. I need to know. Why? Why all this secrecy? Why betray the people who trusted you the most? The visuals then move outside, showing Batista stepping into the rainy streets. His figure is faceless, but determined, the city lights reflecting on wet pavement. Every step echoes the conflict within him: anger, confusion, and an unshakable need for answers. The distance between him and Dexter feels symbolic. Each step a measure of years lost to suspicion and unspoken truths. Text overlay appears briefly. Years of doubt. Now leading to a confrontation, the camera lingers on Batista's silhouette walking forward, the rain intensifying around him. Each droplet a reminder of the time lost, the questions left unanswered. And the bond now stretched to its limit. The scene opens with a dimly lit room, shadows stretching across the walls. Dexter's silhouette is visible, faceless, as he methodically arranges his tools, a precision that feels almost ritualistic. The only sounds are the soft scrape of metal and the distant hum of the city outside. Everything about his movements is deliberate, controlled, and calm. Voiceover begins. Measured and introspective. I've lived my life in patterns. Careful, calculated, hidden. Every step, every decision, shaped by rules that no one else could understand. And yet, some truths have a way of catching up to you. The camera focuses on his hands, gloved, meticulous, pausing over an object that hints at his dual life. A blurred reflection in a window shows the rain streaking down, mirroring the tension building outside. He pauses, breath steady, but there's a subtle weight in his posture. A quiet acknowledgement of the confrontation to come. Cuts to faceless flashbacks. Dexter walking away from a crime scene, cleaning tools with precision, moments where his calm exterior hid the storm within. Quick flashes show Batista's reactions in those past moments, confused glances, subtle suspicion, the unspoken tension growing between them. Voiceover continues. Now, with a hint of vulnerability, Batista always saw me as one thing: a partner, a friend. He never knew the full story. And maybe that was for the best. But secrets, they're heavy. And tonight, I can't hide anymore. The camera pans to Dexter's reflection in a rain-drenched window. Faceless, yet every movement tells the story of inner conflict. He takes a slow, deliberate breath, glances at the city lights outside, and then at the empty chair opposite him where Batista will soon sit. Sound design emphasizes tension, distant sirens, raindrops tapping, and the faint echo of footsteps approaching. Each sound mirrors the weight of the conversation ahead, the unspoken words that have lingered between them for years. Voiceover. Quiet but deliberate. I've always believed that I could control the darkness within me, but tonight, control won't be enough. Tonight, I have to face the one person who has unknowingly judged me for it. The final shot of this section lingers on. Dexter's faceless silhouette framed against the window. Rain streaking down, city lights blurred behind him. Text overlay appears briefly. A confrontation years in the making is about to begin. The scene opens on a quiet, empty bar at night. Rain continues to fall outside, streaking down the windows, reflecting neon city lights. The camera moves slowly, faceless, over empty chairs, polished wood, and half-full glasses left behind by previous patrons. The atmosphere is thick with anticipation, as if the room itself is holding its breath. The camera shifts to Dexter, faceless, entering the bar. His movements are deliberate, controlled. Every step echoes softly on the wooden floor. His gloved hands slide into his coat pockets as he scans the room. A brief pause on an empty table in the far corner. The dim light casts long shadows, emphasizing the solitude and weight of what is about to happen. Voiceover begins, calm yet charged with tension. I've been here before, in moments like this, standing on the edge between control and chaos, but this isn't a case. This is personal. And the person across from me has no idea what's coming? Cut to Batista, faceless, already seated at the table. His silhouette is outlined by the dim glow of a nearby lamp. He stirs his coffee slowly, almost nervously, the faint sound of liquid brushing against ceramic, amplifying the tension. His body language is cautious, hands clasped, back straight, eyes focused on the empty space opposite him. Voiceover shifts to Batista's perspective. Low and heavy. I've waited for this moment longer than I should have. Too many questions, too many suspicions, and too few answers. Tonight, I'm finally going to hear the truth. The camera cuts between their faceless silhouettes, the empty space between them, emphasizing the emotional distance accumulated over years. Outside, thunder rumbles softly, blending with the rain, echoing the storm brewing in the room. The visuals show subtle gestures, Dexter adjusting his coat, Batista tapping a finger against the table, the faint reflection of both in the rain-smeared window. A text overlay appears briefly, years of unspoken words. Minutes from being said, the soundscape intensifies, subtly, a soft hum of tense music. The occasional drip of water from the window, the distant buzz of a neon sign, these small details heighten the anticipation, signaling that the conversation about to happen is heavier than either silhouette alone can carry. We've walked a long road, filled with questions and doubts. Tonight, we either bridge that distance or confirm the divide that's been growing for years. The camera pulls back slightly, showing both faceless figures sitting across from each other at the table. Rain streaks the windows behind them. The empty chairs around them emphasize isolation, reflection, and the weight of the past. The scene lingers, building tension. As the moment of confrontation draws near, the camera lingers on the empty space between Dexter and Batista. The rain outside falls harder, each droplet hitting the window like a ticking clock. Inside the dimly lit bar, silence dominates. Every small movement, the shuffle of Dexter's gloves, Batista's fingers drumming on the table feels magnified. Faceless visuals focus on small, meaningful gestures. Dexter placing his hands flat on the table, Batista slowly leaning back, exhaling as if gathering years of restraint into one breath. The tension is almost tangible. Voiceover begins, a shared sense of hesitation. It starts with a look, not words. Years of suspicion, betrayal, and unspoken truths hanging in the air. Waiting for one person to make the first move, Dexter leans forward slightly. Voice measured, calm yet heavy with weight. It's been a long time. Batista's silhouette stiffens, a subtle hand movement betraying his internal conflict. He answers quietly, voice rough but controlled. Yeah. Too long. The camera alternates between their faceless profiles, emphasizing the distance despite their proximity. Shadows dance across the walls as the dim light flickers slightly, mirroring the tension in the room. Quick flashes of past moments intercut the scene, brief glimpses of crime scenes, close-ups of hands exchanging files. Past conversations with subtle pauses and hesitations. Voiceover from Batista continues. Filled with pent-up emotion, I've had questions, doubts, suspicions, and I've carried them alone because I didn't know if I could trust you, if I could ever understand you. Dexter's hands tighten slightly, a small gesture but heavy with meaning. He pauses, choosing his words carefully, the calm exterior barely hiding the weight of his own confession. I know. And I'm not proud of the walls I built, the lies I told. But there's a reason for everything. You deserve the truth. Even if it's hard to hear, the camera captures a wide shot, both figures faceless. Framed by the dim glow of the bar and the rain-streaked window, the space between them feels smaller now, first bridge forming across years of silence. Voiceover overlays both perspectives. Sometimes the hardest part isn't telling the truth. It's finally facing the person who deserves it. And for us, that moment has come. The section ends with a close-up of the empty table between them, glass of coffee trembling slightly in Batista's hand. The room feels suspended in time. Every sound, the rain, the hum of electricity, the faint shuffle of feet amplifying the gravity of what's about to unfold. Text overlay briefly appears. The conversation begins. But the truth is never simple. The camera slowly circles the table, capturing Dexter and Batista from faceless angles, shoulders, hands, shadows. The rain outside is relentless, drumming against the windows, echoing the storm of emotions inside. Every pause, every small gesture, speaks louder than words. Voiceover begins from Batista's perspective. Raw with frustration and hurt, I spent years questioning every move you made, every clue I couldn't understand. It haunted me. And all this time, you were hiding in plain sight. Faceless visuals focus on subtle actions. Batista's hand gripping the edge of the table, fingers tightening. Dexter sits opposite, calm but tense, fingertips brushing lightly against his coat, a rhythm almost like a heartbeat. The camera captures shadows on the wall, distorted shapes that mirror the emotional weight in the room. Dexter speaks quietly, measured almost as if every word is a careful choice. I never wanted to hurt you, Batista. You were my friend, my partner. Every decision, every secret was to protect the people I care about. And sometimes, that includes keeping you in the dark. The camera cuts to faceless close-ups, Dexter's gloved hands resting on the table. Batista's eyes cast downward, the faint reflection of streetlights in the window behind him. The silence between their words is thick, almost suffocating. Voiceover continues, Batista's voice tense, questioning. Protect me? Or protect yourself? Because from where I was standing, it looked like betrayal. Every secret felt like a knife in my back. Dexter leans forward slightly, the dim light catching the angles of his shadowed face, voice low and sincere. I know, and I can't take back the pain, the doubt, but I can tell you the truth now. Everything I did, it was calculated, but it wasn't about me. Not entirely. The scene shifts to brief, faceless flashbacks intercut with the conversation. Dexter walking away from crime scenes with meticulous care. Batista discovering clues that didn't add up, moments of friendship strained by tension. Each image underscores the years of miscommunication and unspoken truths. Voiceover overlaps both perspectives. To people, once close, now standing on the edge of understanding and resentment. Words can't erase the past, but they can begin to mend it. The camera pans slowly from the table to the rainy window, showing the reflections of both figures distorted in the glass, suggesting the complexity of their relationship. Batista exhales, voice quieter now, carrying a mix of anger, relief, and unresolved emotion. So, you're telling me the truth now? After all this time, Dexter's hands rest flat on the table, steadying himself, voice measured. Yes, it's long overdue, but it's the only way forward. The section ends with a lingering wide shot. The two faceless figures sitting across from each other, the storm outside reflecting the storm inside. Text overlay fades in. The walls between them begin to crumble. But the past still casts a shadow. The rain outside slows to a soft drizzle, pattering lightly against the windows. The camera lingers on the table between Dexter and Batista, faceless silhouettes framed by the dim bar light. The room feels quieter now, as if the tension has shifted, though it hasn't fully disappeared. A small opening has formed between them. Voiceover begins from Batista's perspective, a tone softer than before, still cautious. For years, I carried anger and doubt like a shadow I couldn't shake. But hearing the truth, it changes something. Not everything, but something. Faceless visuals capture small, meaningful gestures. Batista relaxes slightly in his chair, hands unclenching. Dexter leans back, his posture easing, shoulders dropping from the tension that had held him rigid. The camera focuses on their hands resting on the table, close but not touching, a symbol of tentative connection. Dexter's voice follows, calm but sincere. I've made mistakes. Countless mistakes. But you were never the enemy. You were always the one I wanted to protect. Even if I did it poorly. Cut two faceless flashbacks interwoven with the present. Past moments of camaraderie shaking hands after solving a case. Shared glances during tense investigations. Laughter muted by shadowed memories. These faceless glimpses highlight the depth of their bond before secrecy drove them apart. Voiceover continues. Batista reflecting internally, I can see that now. The choices weren't about me alone. They were about survival, about doing what needed to be done. I can't say it makes the past easier, but I understand it better. The camera pans outward slowly, showing both silhouettes sitting together in the quiet bar. Rain glistens on the windows, city lights reflected in puddles outside, even in faceless anonymity. Their body language conveys a subtle shift in acknowledgement of shared pain and tentative trust rebuilding. Dexter's voice, low and contemplative, fills the silence. We can't change what's happened, but maybe we can choose how to move forward. Not as we were, but as something new. The camera captures a close-up of a hand gently tapping on the table, not reaching across, just acknowledging presence. A visual metaphor for fragile reconciliation. Voiceover overlays both perspectives sometimes. The hardest conversations don't end with total closure. They end with understanding and the willingness to try again. The scene ends with a wide shot of the faceless figures framed by the city outside. The rain is almost gone, leaving only soft reflections of light. Text overlay fades in. The past remains, but a bridge begins to form. The rain has stopped outside, leaving the streets slick and glistening under the dim city lights. The camera pans across the empty bar, lingering on reflections in the wet windows. Dexter and Batista